Dr. Kili Kruparani Sahiba, Honorable Union Minister of State for Communication and Information Technology, Janab Firoz Ahmed Khan Sahab, Honorable Minister of State for Science and Technology, Information Technology and various other portfolios. That's the problem with poor Firoz. His introduction is oftentimes longer than his speech. Mr. J. Satyanarayan Sahab, Secretary, Department of Electronics and Information Technology. Mr. Pipul Pathak Sahab, Commissioner Secretary, Information Technology Department and Science and Technology. Distinguished members on the dais, officers of the state and central government, information technology professionals, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed a matter of great pleasure for me to be amongst you this afternoon at the inauguration of the e-governance knowledge exchange being held here in Srinagar over the next couple of days. The truth is that in matters of e-governance, we have many miles yet to travel. It is a subject of not unreasonable regret that the information technology revolution, the electronic revolution, almost completely bypassed Jammu and Kashmir, where we were perhaps the best positioned state to take advantage of it, but for the unfortunate events that began to unfold in late 1989, early 1990. I can't imagine a more apt destination for investment into information technology and electronics than Jammu and Kashmir. And we had the foundations of it right up until 1989-90. Some of the best known companies in the field of electronic research and manufacture were located in Jammu and Kashmir. Unfortunately, India's economic revolution, India's IT revolution, coincided with our own period of extreme darkness, and we were unable to position ourselves to take advantage of that. But nothing lasts forever. By the grace of God, with the support of the people of the state, by the government of India, we have gradually begun to emerge from that darkness, where one feels somewhat enthused by the opportunities that are now available to us. Possibly we are now well positioned wherein we don't have to reinvent the wheel. And that is where events like this knowledge exchange become extremely vital for states like ours that are playing catch up. It's no secret that if you were to examine the pyramid of states and look at how far states have progressed in implementing e-governance initiatives, Jammu and Kashmir ranks rather low in that pyramid, even compared to neighboring states. I'm not even beginning to compare ourselves to rich, well-developed states. Even our neighboring states in the north have stolen a march on us in terms of implementing e-governance initiatives in their states. But we haven't lost out on much more than time. I believe that we have a team well placed in the state with two competent and well-meaning individuals in the form of my minister and his commissioner secretary. The government as a whole has committed its wholehearted support to both of them and to their department, because we believe that there are enormous opportunities in e-governance, both for improving the quality of governance and also in improving the opportunities in employment that will naturally accrue from this. I was listening very carefully to Mr. Prakash Kumar's his address. I had a chance to glimpse through the PowerPoint presentation that he would have made, and a lot of what he said makes a lot of sense for states like mine. Very difficult terrain, difficult to convince people to work in remote areas, areas that are otherwise extremely vital Without health and education, no state can progress. And yet, the further you go from Srinagar or from Jammu, the tougher it is to position doctors and teachers in those areas. To what extent communication technology will allow us to bridge that gap, I would be more than interested in partnering with Cisco in terms of some pilot projects in some of these remote areas so that we can actually put this technology to test and start making it actually work. The only problem is that we have to balance our, for want of a better word, either prejudices or our cultural sort of thought processes with the reality of what technology offers. And the fact is that we are still, and I'm not just talking about Jammu and Kashmir, I'm talking about the country as a whole, we are a very physical society. We like personal contact. In spite of the fact that you offer people the option of e-banking facilities, they still like going to a branch and talking to somebody behind the counter. They still want to see the guy counting the money in front of him or her so that they know the money is actually there. And I can imagine that there would be some reluctance if I was to tell somebody that, look, you don't have to come to the secretariat. Just go into this counter and there'll be somebody sitting behind a television and they'll sort out all your problems. And I have practical sort of an anecdote to share with you. I have a ministerial colleague who in a previous avatar was a minister in my father's government between 96 and 2002. And of course, technology wasn't what it is today. But being the very helpful public representative that he was, he found that a large number of his constituents would come visiting him with problems and concerns. So he just told them that, look, you don't need to come and visit me. Just fax your representations or your demands to me, and I'll take care of them. But you don't have to come and see me. So by and by, people stopped coming. The faxes came. Work happened, didn't happen. That's part of ordinary life. When the elections came about, and he went back to his area to start campaigning, and he told people, you vote for me. They said, हाँ ठीक है, हम vote दे देंगे, लेकिन हम fax से भेजेंगे, आप चलो. See, so that is the problem. That's the contradiction that I'm trying to drive at. That we still thrive on actual physical contact. We haven't reached that level of perhaps emancipation where we are willing to do everything electronically. So yes, I believe e-governance will multiply our ability to deliver services to the public. It will enhance the speed with which those services can be delivered. I'm, at this point in time, ever so slightly reluctant to believe that it can actually replace physical contact or face-to-face contact where that is possible. But where it isn't possible, I'll be the first person to stand up and say, yes, remote availability of medical facilities or of teaching are something that we would definitely be looking at. Even the gradual reduction of paper in our offices. I mean, my state there, again, is uniquely placed to take advantage of the enhancements or the improvements in this, because mine is the only state that shifts capitals. Every year, after 6 months, we pack up whatever we have and we move to Jammu. Lock, stock and barrel. We take all our files, everything. So you can imagine how much easier life would be for me if I didn't have to carry voluminous boxes full of files between Jammu and Srinagar twice a year. Now, the only problem with that, again, is, as was pointed out to me by one of our retired chief secretaries. I was chairing a meeting today of our Higher Education Advisory Committee, and in that, the Higher Education Department, as Bipul pointed out in his presentation, the Higher Education Department has committed to become paperless over the next 6 months. Now, when I asked the former chief secretary, because he'd been part of some of these initiatives in the past, why this hadn't worked earlier, his answer was simple. He says, we don't trust what we can't see. And that's where our problem is. He was very honest with me. He says, I would rather trust my signature on a piece of paper than trust my digital signature. Now, these are the sort of problems that we are going to have to deal with, that we are going to have to address. Yes, things have moved on from the age when security of data was a problem, when stability of networks was a problem, when speed of data transmission was a problem, we still have a long way to go. We've come a long way, but I still believe in terms of making internet services or internet connectivity available to a larger section of our population, we've come a long way, but with many, many miles more to travel. The use of mobile phone technology to monitor government projects is another area that we are looking at. On a pilot basis, we are looking at the Border Area Development Program and taking on, this is where I said the advantage of learning from other states and enhancing on their experiences. We looked at the model of Bihar, which basically has an SMS-based monitoring system for development works. And we said, okay, now that SMS has been replaced by mobile internet technology, how do we build on this? And then somebody came forward with a proposal that you can actually transmit photographs that are date stamped and GPS coordinate stamped so that you can't fake the information. Whereas it's possible to send an SMS from almost anywhere, and unless you can track the tower location, you're not really sure where it's coming from. Once you send a photograph with a GPS stamp and a time stamp, then you're pretty much certain as to where that photograph was actually taken from and when it was taken, which allows you to monitor development works without having to actually send officers from the secretariat right there. All you can do is call up that officer, say, I want you to visit such and such site, take a photograph, and that photograph is available in the secretariat to whoever is part of that distribution list. Now, these are small beginnings that we're trying to make in terms of implementing e-governance initiatives in the state. As I said, we have a long way to go. Another area that I'm particularly keen to see converted into an e-governance mode is the area of land records. I believe there is enormous benefit to be provided to our citizenry if we can make land records, revenue records, available to them electronically. And we are gradually moving in that direction. We've lost, as I said, the better part of 2 decades because the situation in the state was such, and you can't blame a government for that. When you're fighting a crisis, then your aim is first to deal with that immediate crisis and then focus on other things. So, like it or not, e-governance wasn't high on the agenda of governments because they were busy dealing with a whole lot of other pressing concerns of a life and death nature. Today, now that the situation has improved to the point where we can look at areas, I mean, the security environment still remains our primary concern, but we do have the wherewithal to focus on areas like e-governance. Manufacture in the electronic sector is another area that we can now begin to look at because, let's face it, Jammu and Kashmir is not, and particularly the valley, is not positioned for large manufacturing. It's not going to happen. I mean, I can hold my breath until I'm blue in the face in the hope that Ratan Tata will come and put a nano manufacturing plant in Jammu and Kashmir or in Kashmir Valley. It's not going to happen. We are a landlocked state at the fag end of the country, wherein you have to bring in your raw material only to take out your finished product because even our market is not large enough to sustain a large industry. Under such circumstances, really large manufacturing only survives on subsidy. The problem with industry that survives on subsidy is when the subsidy disappears, so does the industry. And therefore, our focus has to be on those areas in which we either have an inherent advantage or they are our core focus areas. So obviously tourism is one, handicrafts is another, agriculture and allied products and services is one, and then you have the low volume, high value products, which is where the electronics industry comes in, where the biotechnology industry comes in. So these are areas that are receiving our focused attention. My purpose of being here this afternoon is to reassure both my colleagues in the state government as well as all of you. I see a number of our budding young entrepreneurs who are part of the information technology sector sitting here amongst you this afternoon. I hope that this exchange of knowledge will be a two-way street where we can share some of our experiences. We recently introduced systems of e-tendering and e-procurement in government systems. We are trying to widen those. So we have some lessons that we have learned through the implementation of e-governance, but I believe we have a lot more to learn than we have to impart at this conference. I am, as I said, as a result of that, extremely glad to have been able to be a part of this. I hope your deliberations over the next few days are constructive for all of you who are taking part here, and I wish this event all success. Thank you all very much.